What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports back again with another one. Anthony Joshua did an interview with Sky Sports and made some interesting comments about Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. First of all, he said Deontay Wilder got annihilated and got exposed in the Tyson Fury rematch. He basically said when you go to war and you only have one weapon, and that's the right hand, and Fury took the right hand away from you, you're a fish out of water at that point, and you have nothing else to fall back on. You don't have a plan B, C, D, or E, and you get exposed. He kind of talked like he knew that was going to happen to Deontay Wilder. He said when you get to the elite level, I guess he says Fury's elite level, and I guess he's including himself as elite level heavyweight. When you get to that level, you got to bring more to the table than a right hand. And he basically said he got exposed and got annihilated. Now, if that ain't the pot calling the kettle black, I don't know what is, man. Didn't you get annihilated, Anthony Joshua, when you fought Andy Ruiz? At least Deontay Wilder, when he got annihilated, as you say, he got annihilated by one of the two best heavyweights in boxing. You got annihilated by a late replacement fighter that came in at the last minute and beat you. He wasn't even a top 5, let alone top 10 heavyweight in Andy Ruiz. That's what you got annihilated by. You got annihilated in your first debut in the USA when you fell flat on your face and you couldn't step up in the big lights, Broadway, New York, the Big Apple. You fell flat on your face. And you want to talk about somebody getting annihilated. Well, at least he got annihilated by the best heavyweight in boxing. You, my friend, got annihilated by the Michelin Man, Andy Ruiz, the Pillsbury Doughboy, Andy Ruiz. And people always are saying this, and I'm gonna correct some people on this point. They say in the second fight with Andy Ruiz was not in shape. That's right, he wasn't in shape. But I'm gonna tell you something now. He wasn't in shape in the first fight. He was in worse shape in the second fight, but he wasn't in shape in the first fight when he beat AJ. That's what people don't want to talk about. That's what people don't want to bring to the table. And I'm going to bring it to the table in this video. Andy Ruiz wasn't in good shape in the first fight. Look at him. Go back and watch that fight. The boy was flabby in the first fight. He was more flabby in the second fight. But you talking like, oh, well, he beat Joshua in the first fight. That was a great win, man. He's got fast hands, man. He's got fast hands like a middleweight. And that might be all well and true. But he was still in bad shape in the first fight, and he beat AJ. Knocked him down 4 times and knocked him out in the 7th round, made him quit. He was out of shape in the first fight. He was just in worse shape in the second fight. I guess he was like, man, I could beat this man in the first fight, and I wasn't in great shape. I came in there, probably at least 40, 50 pounds over my natural weight. And I knocked him out in the first fight. I just party and I got more money. The party and buy these extravagant things and stuff like these, the material things that I always dreamed about getting. And I can halfway train. I can beat this guy again. He felt that, and he made a fatal mistake. And to give Anthony Joshua credit, that he came in with a new game plan, the old Vladimir Klitschko playbook, the old jab and grab playbook, and he won a boring fight where he stayed out of harm's way for 12 rounds. And won the fight on points. Give him credit where credit's due, man. But Anthony Joshua is the 3rd best heavyweight in boxing right now. And Deontay Wilder, even in the loss to Fury, he's the 2nd best heavyweight. And we all know that Tyson Fury is the number 1 heavyweight. So for Anthony Joshua to finally come out of hiding, and he knows he always come out of hiding when he got a fight lined up. Everybody and their mama know that he's going to fight Kubrat Pulev next. That's a mandatory. And Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing ain't going to let him not take that fight, walk away from that fight, and get his title stripped. That's exactly what's going to happen. If he don't fight Kubrat Pulev next, they will strip him of the IBF belt, and everybody know that Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing, that's what they stake their claim to, saying that AJ, he's got 3 of the 4 major belts. He's got the belts. He's got to be number 1. Nah, it ain't just about the belts. Who's the number 1 heavyweight in boxing? Who's the Ring Magazine number 1 heavyweight in boxing? Tyson Fury. Who's the lineal heavyweight champion? It's Tyson Fury. Now you can start arguing now who's the number 2. I think it's Deontay Wilder. He lost to the number 1 guy. Anthony Joshua, you lost to probably the number 8 guy in Andy Ruiz. That's who you lost to. So there's no way when you number 1, you lose to number 8, and if you number 1, number 2, and you lose to number 1. You number 2, you lose number 1. If you number 1, lose number 2, depending on how you had Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder going into the rematch. You just slide down back to number 2. You don't slide. You don't let the guy that lost to number 8 just because he beat number 8 get his #1 spot back. It don't work like that. Don't work like that. He number 3. He number 3. And he comes out in the later part of the interview with Sky Sports and says, I'm ready to fight Tyson Fury now. If Tyson Fury say he the best, he should come out here and fight me. I'll get Pulev to step aside, and we'll get, Deontay Wilder, he can go eat his Alabama chicken and step aside, and let's get people what they want to see and find out who is the #1 heavyweight in boxing. And, this dude, Anthony Joshua, is a straight cornball, man. I'm going to use the word that Tony Harrison used for my boy Jamel Charlo when he called him a cornball. That's what Anthony Joshua is. He's a straight-up cornball, Alabama chicken. You know what I'm saying? If he wasn't black, I would say he was a racist comment, but he's just a cornball. That's just what he is. He's just a cornball in the Oreo cooking. You see, he kind of repeats the same playbook that Eddie Hearn will repeat, basically saying that Kubrat Pulev should step aside and Deontay Wilder should step aside, knowing good and well that Deontay Wilder ain't finna step aside. Knowing good and well that Kubrat Pulev ain't finna step aside. Kubrat Pulev think you sweet. He think you easy money. He say, shoot, if Andy Ruiz can knock you out, I can knock you out. His promoter, Bob Arum, already said that. Said, look, Andy Ruiz dropped you, beat you around from pillar to post in the first fight, knocked you down multiple times, made you quit. Pulev is twice the fighter, Andy Ruiz. And he been telling the world this since before the Fury Wilder rematch. He say, shoot, man, Pulev gonna knock out Anthony Joshua. Everybody think you sweet, man. Even though you won the rematch with Andy Ruiz, you didn't come out there and destroy Andy Ruiz like you should have and get your reputation back as a killer that you once had going into that Vladimir Klitschko fight. You was a killer before that fight, and you failed to deliver that same killer mindset, and you more of a cautious fighter ever since you went through that war with Vladimir Klitschko. You've been a different type of fighter. And you've been a guy that's been gun shy, and you've been very more defensive minded fighter, and your offensive have gone down. Just look at the punches you were throwing per round before Vladimir Klitschko's and the punches you throwing per round after Vladimir Klitschko fights. They're down significantly. Go take the stats. I ain't just talking. Go check the stats. Go check the stats. I got the receipts. Go check the stats. I ain't just talking. So Anthony Joshua right now is the #3 heavyweight in boxing. I don't care nothing about him. Got three or four titles. He got beat by late replacement, out of shape Andy Ruiz. He got beat when he stepped on the big stage, and it was time to perform. He got booed off the stage. I was looking. It was Sandman. The Sandman came in the middle of the ring, started sweeping in the middle of the ring, started tap dancing, and told you to get up out the ring. You got exposed. In New York, Madison Square Garden. You got exposed. You got exposed in New York City. And now and then instead of going back there and righting the wrong, going back to the scene of the crime, you ran back home and tried to get Andy Ruiz to fight you in the UK. Andy Ruiz said, I'm not having it. So you compromised and went to go fight in quote unquote Saudi Arabia, was basically matchroom boxing Middle East. Well, basically everything got moved to Saudi Arabia, but it was still basically it was a matchroom boxing promotion. Matchroom ran that show, and you had all the hometown advantages, just as if you would have been fighting in the UK. And you, like I said, you was grabbing, holding. Referee didn't never warn you about the constant holding you was doing. You were doing old jab and grab move, and you was able to box your way to a boring unanimous decision over the Michelin Man and Andy Ruiz. And now you're talking like you some killer. And you trying to say Deontay Wilder got annihilated he got annihilated. Well, if he did get annihilated, he did get annihilated. He got annihilated by the #1 heavyweight in boxing. What's your excuse? You got annihilated by a late replacement, Pillsbury Doughboy, #8 heavyweight at best, Andy Ruiz, and you talking like you the #1 dude in boxing, which you ain't. You ain't the #1 dude in boxing. You can't call nobody out on getting annihilated when you yourself got annihilated by a lesser fighter. That just is what it is. This is what it is. And I just find AJ, man. AJ, it's a reason why he don't never talk that much, because when he usually talk, he put his foot in his mouth time and time again. That's why I understand why Eddie Hearn don't have him talking that much. Keeps him away from the mic, because when he start talking, man, he just exposes himself time and time again. Just let your boy Eddie, your master Eddie Hearn, aka Eddie Con Artist, talk for you, man. Because every time you run your mouth, you put your foot in it, man. Put your foot in. How the hell can you call somebody else being exposed and you got exposed, and you got exposed by a lesser fighter, and you got the audacity to do an interview and try to call out Wilder for getting exposed against Tyson Fury, #1 heavyweight in boxing, and you got exposed by Andy Ruiz, the #8 heavyweight in boxing at best. Yeah, you got exposed by him, and then, and the guy wasn't even in good shape going into both fights. Yeah, both fights, not just the second fight. Everybody want to talk about him not being in shape in the second fight. He wasn't even in shape in the first fight. He was just in worse shape in the second fight, and you got beat by that guy. So kill that noise, AJ. You've been exposed once again, and go on back into hiding. And we don't need to hear from you until it's time for you to get ready to get in the ring with Kubrat Pulev. Because when you try to talk about other things, another thing AJ tried to say, I don't want to be getting to the tactical battle between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. I don't want to talk tactical about the fight, but he got exposed. He got annihilated. Yeah, man, you can't talk about nobody getting exposed and getting annihilated. You can't talk nothing about that, man. I always trying to make it look like he's some educated Harvard professor. Man, and you try to talk about Deontay Wilder like, he old country Bama from Alabama, eating Alabama chicken. Man, Deontay Wilder is 10 times as smart as you. 10 times as smart. You see how he do his interviews? He did interviews, do in-depth interviews, show his high boxing IQ, showing his high IQ in general. He shows that. And here you come talking about Alabama chicken. Man, you sound like a old KKK member. Talking about Alabama. Oh yeah, he can stay eating his Alabama chicken and let me and Fury fight. Man, trying to be funny, you the next Richard Pryor, you the next Martin Lawrence, you the next Kevin Hart. Hell no. No, stick to what you do best, man. And you don't even do it that well, but stick to what you do and what you know, and that's boxing, man. And quit trying to be a comedian and quit trying to come out here on your soapbox and try to call out Wilder for being exposed and annihilated by Tyson Fury when you yourself was exposed and annihilated by Andy Ruiz, a lesser fighter. Let me know what you think in the comment sections about what AJ said about Deontay Wilder and what he said about Tyson Fury. And what you think about a matchup between Anthony Joshua and Kubrat Pulev, and what you think about AJ when he finally does get in the ring with Tyson Fury. And I'm telling you right now, that fight is at least 2 fights away from both fighters. Both fighters got 2 more fights they got to get out the way before that fight will happen. I think that fight probably will happen somewhere. Sorry about that. That fight will happen somewhere around the summer of 2021. I think that's when that fight will logically happen. 2021. Anthony Joshua will have to get by Kubrat Pulev. He wins that fight, then he would have to fight Orlando Usyk. If he gets by Derek Chisora, maybe Derek Chisora pulls upset. He has to fight Derek Chisora. But whoever comes out of that fight, he has to fight them next. That'll probably be the first part of 2021. And Tyson Fury has to fight and defeat Deontay Wilder in the trilogy. And that's not a guarantee he's going to be able to do that. Because I think Wilder's going to come back much improved. He's going to come back a little bit at a lower weight, somewhere between 215 and 220. And you're going to see the guy that knocked out all his opponents going into the Fury rematch, before the Fury rematch. You're going to see that Wilder come to the table. And I think it's going to be a great, great matchup between him and Fury. But if Fury is able to get by that matchup, he still got to take care of his WBC mandatory against Dillian Whyte. If Dillian Whyte gets by Oleksiejczyn Povetkin, the PED King. He's got that fight coming up July 4th. Doubt if that fight happens July the 4th with this pandemic going on. I doubt if that fight happens then, with this coronavirus going on. That fight probably going to get pushed back to the fall like pretty much all the other fights will. It's going to probably get pushed back to the fall or late summer, early fall. I think that's when boxing will resume. But they got it slated for July the 4th. So whenever that fight happens, if Dillian Whyte's able to get through that fight, Tyson Fury's got to fight Dillian Whyte by February of 2021. So that fight must happen by that time. So both fighters got 2 more fights to take care of. So if they both are victorious in the next 2 fights, then you can see Joshua versus Fury sometime in the summer of 2021 in the USA. Because Tyson Fury already told you that he's not fighting in the UK no more. The UK turned their back on him. When he defeated Vladimir Klitschko, he didn't get the love he felt he deserved. And as soon as Anthony Joshua went to the Olympics and got the gold medal and turned pro, he got all the love and accolades from the UK. And Tyson Fury never like that and never forgave the UK fans. Now, he got his diehard Gypsy fans. He got his diehard Deontay Wilder hating fans here in the United States that was cheering for him, which was one of the biggest disgrace in boxing, cheering against your own countryman and Deontay Wilder. But that's a story for another day. That's a story for another day. So that if that fight does take place by 2021, if both guys keep winning, which is not just automatic. Both guys got tough fights coming up. If they continue to win, look for Joshua and Fury to take place in the USA. Fury already told you that in a radio interview before the Wilder rematch. He says if Joshua wants to fight him, he'll be fighting in the USA. And Fury walked away from trying to get a license in the UK with the British Board of Boxing Control Commission. He walked away from that when they was trying to do an investigation and looking into things with the steroid use in 2015 and him trying to apply for a license. He walked away from it and basically turned his back on the UK. I guess he said, shit, I can't never get no love. I can't get no love from the fans. When I beat Klitschko, the boxing commission is giving me a hard time about getting a license. The hell with him, man. I'm gonna go fight all my fights in the USA and become a star in the USA. And he has done that. Defeating Deontay Wilder has definitely upped his profile, and he's one of the biggest names in the sport of boxing. So if AJ wants to fight Fury and that fight to happen, that fight's going to have to take place in the USA. It's not going to happen in the UK. So all you UK boxing fans that's thinking that fight going to happen in the UK, y'all better get your plane tickets ready, get your hotel reservations together, get out and save all your money, start putting money to the side right now while you're working so you can afford that flight and afford that hotel, because they're going to jack up them hotel rates during the week of that fight. And wherever it happens in the United States of America, and get ready to fly out here to the good old USA to watch at that time the biggest heavyweight boxing fight in UK history happening in the good old USA. Let me know what you think in the comment section about Joshua versus Fury here in the USA, and let me know about the comments that Anthony Joshua made to Sky Sports TV in regard to Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. This is JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. I'll holla.